On September 3rd, 1939, King George VI, despite having a speech impediment, delivered a speech to the British people declaring that his country was going to war with Germany. Because of the dire situation and looming war, and the king's tenacity to overcome his stuttering issue, this speech is now revered by many. Listen to the speech and pay attention to the king's use of ethos, pathos, logos, and tone. Be ready to answer 5 questions related to the speech. The King's Speech. In this grave hour, perhaps the most fateful in our history, I send to every household of my peoples, both at home and overseas, this message, spoken with the same depth of feeling for each one of you, as if I were able to cross your threshold and speak to you myself. For the second time in the lives of most of us, we are at war. Over and over again, we have tried to find a peaceful way out of the differences between ourselves and those who are now our enemies, but it has been in vain. We have been forced into a conflict, for we are called to meet the challenge of a principle which, if it were to prevail, would be fatal to any civilized order in the world. Such a principle, stripped of all disguise, is surely the mere primitive doctrine that might is right. For the sake of all that we ourselves hold dear, it is unthinkable that we should refuse to meet the challenge. It is to this high purpose that I now call my people at home and my peoples across the seas, who will make our cause their own. I ask them to stand calm and firm and united in this time of trial. The task will be hard. There may be dark days ahead, and war can no longer be confined to the battlefield. But we can only do the right as we see the right, and reverently commit our cause to God. If one and all we keep resolutely faithful to it, then, with God's help, we shall prevail. May He bless and keep us all. Now answer the following questions. Number 1. A speaker or writer sometimes, by default of reputation or fame, has what is called automatic ethos. Their prestige is so obvious that they are automatically credible. Explain why you think King George VI has automatic ethos in this speech. Number 2. King George VI says, over and over again we have tried to find a peaceful way out of the differences between ourselves and those who are now our enemies, but it has been in vain. Explain why you think this statement is an example of logos. Number 3. Why do you think King George VI uses the pronouns we and us in his speech? Which rhetorical appeal is he using by doing this? Ethos, pathos, or logos? Number 4. The king ends his speech by saying, but we can only do the right as we see the right, and reverently commit our cause to God. If one and all we keep resolutely faithful to it, ready for whatever service or sacrifice it may demand, then with God's help we shall prevail. Since the king is the head of the Church of England, how does this statement elicit pathos? Number 5. By looking at and analyzing the word choices of the speech and understand the context in which it was given, explain what you think the tone of the speech is and why you think that tone was used in this rhetorical situation.